Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the show where we do movie reviews and talk about movie news, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm your host, the man you wish had no tongue, Garrett Ray. And joining me, it's my good friend who's always here with me, co-hosting this dadgum show, the man with a double-barrel shotgun loaded with knowledge about movies you've never even heard of. It's Andy Delia.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thanks for being here once again.
That was better than last week's intro. That was good.
Last week I was having a panic attack in the middle of it, so
yeah, I can tell. Great recovery this week. Thank you.
Really, thank you very much. I appreciate it. How this show works is we talk about movies up front. So instead of sitting through the news, you can just get straight into the movie review. We'll do spoilers free first, let you know if this movie's worth your time, and then we'll jump into a spoiler section. We'll let you know when it's coming, and then we can talk in depth about the movie. And then you can always reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram at Grand Review Pod and scream at us. Yep. We would love to hear your screams.
Say how stupid we are.
Exactly. And boy, howdy, some people have this week. Anyway, so this week we're talking about Speak No Evil. This is the new Blumhouse-produced horror film. It's a remake of a 2022 Danish film. Yep. The country, not the pastry. And it's an interesting animal. So basically, the premise of it, if you're trying to figure out if there's something good out this week, the premise is that there's this family that meets someone while they're on vacation, and then they go out to kind of spend some time with them at their not cabin, but their little ranch out in
farm, whatever you
the
want.
West Country, wherever that is. I don't know. I don't speak.
Beautiful landscape, by the way.
Beautiful landscape, absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, ruled by monarchs. Anyway, so we kind of see things start to unravel from there, and maybe these people aren't quite the friendly faces that you think they are. Andy, we always start with your thoughts because they're better than mine. So what is your thoughts on Speak No Evil, the 2024 version? I know you saw the original.
Yeah, I did my homework this week and I actually watched the original one. I really like this. I thought it was engaging. I thought James McAvoy was really good. Even the other characters and actors and actresses in this were definitely worth paying attention to. Mm-hmm. It kept you occupied. It didn't get boring.
Yeah.
And the last part of this is so different from the original one that I really enjoyed this one a heck of a lot more than I did the original one. I didn't like all that much, to be honest. I thought it was slow. The ending is very anticlimactic and it just kind of ends. Yeah. And I wasn't impressed with that. So after I watched the original one this week, I'm like, man, this new one better be better. And I give Blumhouse really knocked it out of the park this time. Like they actually made a decent horror film. And it's I don't like calling it a horror film. I think it's a thriller. And
a lot like Afraid is.
Right.
Which also Blumhouse.
Yes.
Yeah. So they've had two back-to-back come out.
But this one's more for adults. Like this is really not so much like a teeny bopper horror film. Like this is for people that want substance and stuff that could actually happen to kind of make you think. Like this is the other end of Afraid. Yeah. Like Afraid is, the AI and how it's going to take over. And
it's a cautionary tale about things that might happen.
Right.
This is about things that probably have happened.
Be careful who you friend on vacations.
Yes. Be careful who you friend in general. I have a wife and I have acquaintances. There is nothing else. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, so I'm not your friend. Thanks, Garrett.
No, I joke, of course. I joke. Well, look, you're still in review. Jessica's my friend, for sure. Oh, okay. We love Jessica. She's great.
Yes, my wife's awesome.
No, we love you, too.
And man, she ate that whole bucket of popcorn last night.
Oh, she did not fall asleep this week.
No, she was fully into that film. So that's good. That's always a good sign.
This movie gave me a stress headache. I don't know how else to describe what happened. Okay. I was so stressed out by the situations they were in, the things that I saw happening, that my head was pounding behind my left eye, and I was just like, "This is awful." More, please. It legitimately gave me a headache because my blood pressure was so high during this movie because I think I was frustrated by the fact that the characters are some of the dumbest people in the world, making the dumbest decisions at every possible step. But that's the point. It wasn't like, oh, don't go in the closet. Like, it wasn't just someone making a dumb decision. It was their character, and the whole point of the movie is that they're kind of these ineffectual people. So like it was frustrating, but it was intentionally so, not just, oh, we need this to happen, so we'll go ahead and make the character make a dumb decision that's out of character. It was all 100% within character.
Right.
And so it's good, but also it pissed me off.
I don't think it's the dumbest people on the planet. Actually, I thought some of the actions of the characters were pretty smart. More so than the original one, that was for sure. That's where I really kind of criticized, like, seriously, you guys did this? And
yeah.
Some of this, you can kind of see where things would happen and what would you choose if you were in that situation.
Right. Oh, I have thoughts on that.
But as compared to like some of the other thrillers that I've seen, like these are more of the smarter characters that I've seen.
Then that just goes to show you that I should not watch most thrillers, because I would throw something at the screen. I was literally, I don't know if you noticed it, but I was pounding my fist on my knees going, don't do that. Like
because I was fully engrossed. So I didn't notice anything around me.
I was too. I got to the point where I had to remind myself there are other people around you. You need to calm down.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not that many last night.
Hannah leaned over to me. She goes, it's just a movie. I was like, they're going to all die. It was an incredibly stressful film to watch in the best way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this isn't worth seeing. But I am saying if you're a person who has spent any time in your life looking around your house and going, how would I clear the corners in here if someone broke in? These people, you will almost go, well, you've earned your death.
Well, it is uncomfortable. It is disturbing, but not to the point where you're uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah, it's like you can picture yourself in that situation, and you just want it. You want the relief of them getting out, but it never comes. You never get that relief, at least through most of the runtime. Obviously, we'll talk about the end, but there is no. There's just always another little thing. You're like, no, not.
Like, I really like the woman that plays the wife in this, Louisa.
Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah, because the only thing I've seen her in is Terminator Dark Fate.
That's right.
Yeah, which actually isn't bad.
That's what I've heard, but also didn't do great.
It did horribly.
It couldn't have been worse than Terminator Genesis.
Or Terminator Rise of the Machines, the third one. That's a bad one, too.
Yeah, but
and I think it had the alien curse. They had too many bad sequels, and then you get a good one that comes out. Everybody's like, no, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Terminator 3, though, you've got to give it this one thing. There was a coffin full of guns, and that's hilarious. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. That's about the only good part to that film.
Yeah, but it's good every time.
Genesis is horrible.
Genesis is bad. But yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said. There are themes that are interesting to talk about. My wife and I, when we got home, so the movie ended at 9:30. I think we were here till probably 10:15 talking with you guys.
Yeah,
in the lobby.
we were.
And but we sat in the living room and had a conversation that started with this movie, and it got off a little bit and went into like talking about homeschooling and stuff by the end. But we were up till 1 a.m. just talking. Like this started a conversation that was so. Like we both were like, we have stuff we need to do, but let's just finish talking about this real quick. And then it kept going. And so that I think is something that is a mark of, if not a good movie, an interesting movie. An interesting movie will start a conversation between you and people you watched it with. And I think that this movie does quite a bit of that. I think that it's a pretty thoughtful thriller sort of film.
McAvoy is definitely the driving force behind this.
Absolutely. Yeah. He carries like a good portion of this on his shoulders.
And I just hate to see him like typecasted now in these kind of roles, because Split really did that for him.
Sure.
But there's some films that he did before that I really liked, called one Wanted.
About
the assassins. Like that's actually a pretty decent film.
Yeah.
And he's good in that.
Chris Pratt's in that too, is the preppy dude in the office.
Best part in that is
smacking him with the keyboard.
Yeah, and the letters F-U came off of the keyboard. That's awesome. I still love that part. And that director I like too, Timur Bagmanatov, that He did Night Watch and Day Watch, which were these Russian kind of sci-fi horror films.
Okay.
They did better in Russia than like the Lord of the Rings trilogy did. They're
really
huge.
interesting. Yeah.
And they're really good movies. The stories are just really good.
Huh.
And
Russia has some weird stuff, man.
Yeah, but this one, it's pretty like normal in that scope. But it's nothing like way out there that's just uneasy or uncomfortable to watch. But then I think what killed his career was him doing Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And that's, for what that film is, I like it. It's fun. Yeah. It's not to be taken seriously. Not the woman in Marble Falls that tried to convince me that it actually happened.
What?
Yeah.
Look, I know we have a reputation for going on tangents here, but what?
Yeah.
She tried to convince you that Abraham Lincoln actually killed vampires.
Yes, and that the Confederacy was a bunch of vampires and that they had to be put to rest. Oh, yeah. There was a half-hour conversation that I was done after like 5 minutes.
I am actually speechless right now. I can't imagine.
I have the dumbest situations I've gotten myself in over the years talking to customers, and that's definitely one of them.
Did they hurt any monkeys making war for the Planet of the Apes?
That's a good one.
This movie, though, speaking of evil, it keeps a constant feel of tension and suspense. Yeah. It kind of does that in a way that is very natural and grounded, and you're invested in it because you're like, I feel like I've been in that social situation before and have fallen for the same thing. And
I think that's what makes this film so frightening is that it's not off the realm of possibility.
And I think that McAvoy's character is a great villain because, and I want to tread carefully here because I don't agree with anything he does throughout the movie at all. But there are times where he says certain things, and there's one particular one that really stands out where he has a point. He has a point about how they ended up where they ended up.
Oh, is that line that he has toward the end of the film?
After the turn happens,
yeah.
And so he makes a couple other points throughout it where it's almost like there's something about the way that he's talking about stuff that you're like, well, I can see how that's at a conversation, and then there's kind of a snap, and it's like, oh, wait a second, you're making bad faith arguments now. And which is you can really see the Andrew Tate influence on this character, and so there's a lot of that stuff in there where he's a good villain because every now and then there's something where you go, well, I mean, I get no, there's a lot of that, McAvoy's performance it's he is a solid performer. Everything he's in, he really goes for. Split, I was thinking about Split last night while we were watching it and was like, I get that there's probably going to be a lot of parallels drawn between Split and this, but this is Split. He plays so many different characters in that movie, so there's that. That's very different. But also, I think there's a.
I really think that was the last good M. Night Shyamalan film too.
Absolutely, but I don't know. There's a very different feel to this character than anything he did in Split. It's menacing in a completely different way. Yeah.
Like Split, you have multiple personalities and you have to switch psyches at I really wonder how he prepared and everything for that film because he did it so well.
Yeah.
How much time he needed on set to go from one character to another and changing all that up and how he did that.
Yeah.
This one is more he's straight ahead the entire movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a very consistent performance. I mean, I have no complaints about McAvoy's performance.
Yeah.
I do have perhaps just a slight note about Italy, but we'll talk about that in spoilers.
Careful.
What?
Because I'm Italian, dude.
No, not. My problem's not with Italy itself. I mean, they did side with Hitler, so there is that.
You mentioned that before.
No, it's my favorite joke.
Yeah, because it annoys me.
Yes. But yeah, overall, I do think the performances are all operating at a high level.
I wasn't crazy about the husband. There are a couple of things
that are hitting a little lower. Yeah, so Scoot Mcnairy plays Ben in this, and I haven't seen Scoot Mcnairy in a lot of other stuff, so I can't really judge whether or not this is I can't judge whether it's a performance choice here or if that's just how he
his
acts.
character.
So, I'm trying to figure out where the delineating line is on that.
It's almost like Justin Theroux last week from Beetlejuice.
I still love that. You can't convince me not to.
No, but this is a little bit different, and it's not. One moment he's gung ho for saving his family, and the next moment he's a wuss.
I think, and I think the character is supposed to be an ineffectual, weak man, and that's the point of him. Up until
the wife has to step up and
or like he's angry, and they make a point of that. But like it's acting angry. It's not like you don't feel the anger coming off of him. That's my critique of a performance. That's a subjective thing. That's not something I can necessarily say the performance is good or bad in this case, because I think that it was what was intended.
Okay.
And you can have a good performance that's bad acting, if that makes sense. You can have a director who has said, this is how I want you to play this, and the actor does exactly that, but those decisions can be the wrong decisions.
Right.
Anyway, but
I really like the kid that played Ant.
I like the kid that played Ant. I want to make a point here to not pick on a child actor. I've been a child actor. It's tough, man. Like because you're trying to act without the understanding fully of how human emotions work and stuff. You're still working through those things. So you basically have, as a child actor, most of them. Some of them have figured this out a little bit earlier on in their life, but most child actors have. Well, I know what sad is. I know what angry is, and they turn on that switch, and it's one mode, right? There's not a mix of modes. You can't have sad angry as much as you can have just angry. And so Agnes, I think, is hit or miss for me throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But I want to make it very clear, no one should go and make fun of this girl or anything like that. That she's doing an incredibly hard job.
Just that stupid stuffed rabbit that, and that's one of the things that annoyed me about the original one. It still annoys me in this one.
It absolutely annoys me in this one. Yeah. It's a also sometimes a child just needs a little bit longer to get it right, and maybe you don't have that time in your budgeted for the kid to have all that time to do that and stuff, and kids can only work 4 hours a day, so there's that too. So you're kind of hamstrung by that, which actually makes me think that the filming of this would be a nightmare because those kids are in it a lot. Either a nightmare or it's the only movie in the last 5 years where people have gotten to go home at a reasonable time at the end of filming. No, but it was a slight ding on, just the feeling of the movie overall, where there were some times where Agnes's character was supposed to be feeling one thing, but you can kind of feel the acting, or it's like it's not quite got enough of that mixture, which is something you probably wouldn't say about Dakota Fanning. But this little girl, Alex West Leffler, I don't think she's bad, and I'm not making fun of her, but that was the one performance that kind of took me out a couple of times. Not all the time, but a couple of times. Also, though, plays the smartest character in the whole movie. Well. Except for Ant.
No, the wife.
Louise?
I think some of her actions are definitely... She's smarter than the husband, and that was for sure.
Yeah.
But that whole lie that they give about getting away from them is that whole scene. Just when that unfolded, I was like, whoa. Okay, that's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, but the thing is, if we're thinking about the same scene, that wasn't Luis's idea. That was the little girl's. But anyway, okay. Well, I think it left me feeling angry, but I think it was trying to. So points to it for doing what it wanted to do. Okay. And as far as I see it, would you recommend this?
Yes, definitely.
I would too. Yeah, I don't know if I'll watch this again anytime soon because it made me so stressed.
I would. I'd watch this again. I liked it.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just I haven't had that sort of emotional reaction like as from a stress standpoint in a long time in a movie, and I remembered exactly how much I hate stress.
You really shouldn't watch the original one then.
Yeah, I read up about the original, and that definitely would.
The original one's going to annoy you a lot, because especially since the whole last part of this one and the original are completely different. Very
different. Yeah,
but it's for the best.
Yeah. All right. Well. I guess we both would recommend it.
Yeah.
Go see Speak No Evil if you like suspense and tension and stuff. Not a movie for kids, I would say.
No.
A lot less gory and stuff than you would expect.
It's not very bloody or anything, but it's just very tense.
Yeah, and there are some sexual themes that I probably would not want to, show my 8-year-old. So, there's just fair warning. It's the themes that are there more than the actual actions on screen, or
watching a little kid being thrown in a pond that can't swim. That's
that's comedy. I'm just joking. All right, well, let's get into spoilers.
Yeah,
also,
spoilers.
That's a joke. I don't throw children.
I was going to say, and you're going to have kids, really?
Yeah. Not for long, though, because I'm going to try to teach them how to swim, and it's going to go wrong.
Well, that's how my dad, he threw me in the...
And you're still here.
I am.
And you only gurgle from the water that's in your lungs a little bit. So,
Not like Creep Show.
I haven't seen Creep Show.
Seriously.
I know. I know.
The one story in that they bury this couple up to their neck at a beach.
Oh.
Leslie Nielsen is the bad guy in the story.
Okay, well, now I have to see it. I love Leslie Nielsen.
Ted Danson is one of the couple.
Oh.
So he buries them up to their neck on a beach, and the tide comes in and drowns them.
Yeah.
They come back as kind of zombies. And the throat effects that they had, like they sound like they're constantly breathing in that water. That alone is creepy enough.
Yeah.
But it's directed by George Romero. All the stories are written by Stephen King. Fantastic film around Halloween if you've never seen it.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's 4 short stories.
I do like Ted Danson. He's great in The Good Place.
This was even before Cheers.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had... No, Ted Danson's had white hair since he was 3 years old. Never mind. All right, well, let's talk about spoilers. Speak No Evil is the story of how 2 people from America never learned how to be adults and protect their child, and therefore deserve to be just slapped upside the back of the head a couple of times. I hate these people. I hate them because they are so useless.
So that's why they're kind of singled out.
Exactly, yeah.
Like the James McAvoy and his wife, that's why they are singled out on that trip. Because it's definitely not the Danish couple, which they make fun of throughout the film, which is awesome.
I loved the Danish couple jokes.
And
Those are great.
they were made fun of in the original film too. So I was like,
were they really?
that. Yeah, like the whole first 2/3 of this film is exactly like the original.
Really?
Just the last part is changed.
Interesting.
And the acting in the original is very bad. Like to the point that James McAvoy's character in the original one is not menacing, not intimidating in the slightest. And it's very hard to think this couple is intimidated by these 2 generally like weak people.
Yeah.
And they're even weaker for falling for this.
Right, yeah.
And the people that play the couple, they're not good actors either.
I think that was probably what the commentary was for the Danish audience. I mean, if you think about the way that European culture is very different from American culture.
No, and I get that.
So I see what you're saying though, like how that you'd be like, well, how would you fall for this, and how would you end up in this situation if that person's not menacing and you don't feel like, well, I need to go along with what they're saying, whatever. And James McAvoy is very much doing that. I have one gripe, which is that after the conversations they had with this couple in Italy, if you have 2 brain cells to rub together, you would never go out to their ranch out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I can't remember exactly what it was, but in Italy, and granted, I've seen the trailer, so I know it's going bad. So there's you have to make affordances for the fact that you know more than the people in the movie,
Right.
But I have absolutely had conversations with people who are that pushy about some random topic, and I'm just like, you suck. I'm never staying at your house. Like, and so I thought that it was kind of like from the very beginning. You're kind of wondering, why is it that she said she doesn't want to go out there with these people when they get the invite,
right.
And Ben kind of just goes, yeah, okay, and he goes, fine, whatever. But then she loops back around on it and tries to. I guess she's trying in the marriage because of something we don't know about, but it looks like she's trying to make him happy, and that's the whole thing. But I don't know, it was when they were talking about being a vegetarian, And the guy and Patty kind of pushes her, and he's like, "So is it for environmental reasons, health reasons? Which one is it?" And she's like, "Well, both actually." And then also, and she starts explaining, and he cuts her off, and he's like, "No, you don't have to explain. It's fine. It's fine."
That's almost line for line out of the original.
Is it really? Yeah. So that is something where if I was her husband sitting there, I probably would have been like, if you cut her off like that, you're going to get something cut off yourself. All right. Like just, I wouldn't have ever wanted to go spend time with those people again if they talked to my wife that way. That would have been enough for me. And you know, maybe I'm overprotective. I don't know. But the thing is, like, there's just, I don't think that there's enough of a fall from charm for the audience. Like, James McAvoy's character starts out a little charming, but while they're in Italy, before they ever go out to the ranch, there is just a little bit too much of the creep factor. Like, I feel like it should catch you off guard a little bit when they arrive. Just from a narrative structure, like, he shouldn't have been quite as kind of overbearing before then. Like, if it started and kind of, they're trying to do the slow unravel, but the unravels kind of happened in Italy just a little bit too much already for me, from the way I feel about it.
Yeah, but most people won't notice that.
You don't think so?
No.
Maybe not. I just think, like, from a writing perspective, that's something I would have wanted a little bit more. And the director of this both wrote and directed for this adaptation.
Okay.
And I would have wanted him to be a little bit more straight up just charming in Italy, so that the invite, like, is actually enticing.
So when the twist happens, after the invite and they're at the farm or the ranch, it's a little more shocking, is what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like if there had been, because the thing that happens with the conversation at the table is a small thing. It's not, you know, like, most of the time you wouldn't write someone off for that. I would, because I hate going out. But but like, the twist that
I would, because I don't like being bothered by other couples on vacation.
I'm on vacation. I'm not here to talk to people.
Right there. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to be with my family. Leave me alone.
I'm here to be with my family and get away from the fact that I have to talk to people at work.
Right.
Why would I want to do more of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that this is why I don't have any friends.
And that's why we get along so well.
I think so, yeah. Because we both we go, hey, great podcast, love talking to you. We don't talk for the rest of the but no, I feel like I wanted a little bit more of a. It should have been more enticing, but the invite out to the ranch felt like a threat when he does it at the table when they're in Italy, and he's like, his like, you guys have to come out, and he goes, yeah, okay, great, and he's like, no, really, are you coming? Yes. Done. You know, and at that point I'd be like, you're gonna murder me, aren't you? And again, I know I've seen the trailers.
Gonna use my skin as a lampshade,
right? Yeah. If someone forcefully invites you, there's an invitation and then there's a threat. There's a thin line between the two, which is why I don't accept any invitations. But I like, they're just,
including mine.
I'm so sorry about that. I still feel bad. But do you know what I mean though?
Yeah,
like, there's just,
no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
That was like the one thing that kept me throughout this going, these people, no one deserves to die, but as characters in a movie, they deserve to die because you're stupid enough to come out here in the first place. This was a dumb move. And also, why do you need a vacation? You just got back from Italy vacation. Like, the way that it's laid out in the movie, it feels like the day they get back, they walk in.
They're headed out again.
And then they're like, oh, maybe we need some time away from home. I'm like, you stupid idiots. Neither of you have jobs. The only thing you need to be doing is buying a raincoat to walk around in the London rain and go, hello, can I get a job? Like, what are you doing?
Well, doesn't the wife's employed? Just the
no,
husband
she's still not employed. She used to be in PR, but she doesn't have that.
So how
network.
did they have all that money at the end?
He had money because he was sent there to set up the office, but then they laid off everyone in redundancy because of the economic crash.
Because when they're finding out how much they have in their bank accounts and they're looking to transfer that,
yeah, they have a lot of money there.
I was like, yeah, how did they have that much money?
Yeah, but I don't know.
I like those scenes too, where McAvoy's mask of sanity slips, like the part where she cuts the wife cuts her finger, Louisa, and they're like, "Oh, thank God we have a doctor." And well, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah,
and then goes on with really what is the truth of the situation and what he probably does.
But then they play the truth off as the joke,
right?
And it's them toying with them. I do think that this movie, every single step of the way, and this is what I love about the writing. Every step of the way, every scene with Patty and Kira in it is them testing to see how far they can push Ben and Louise. It's always a push. It's always a little. Can I get you to go this way? Can I get you to go that way? Can I kind of move you around a little bit? And the more that they do that, the more intense it gets.
Especially if they invite them at the dinner and then they end up paying.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
And that's right out of the original one too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because let me take care of the bill is no one ever means that.
Yeah.
And he just immediately goes, "Oh, thanks, mate. I'll go get the car." And I was like, that's funny. Like
I just the part that had me laughing, I don't know if you noticed that, when the McAvoy's wife is trying to beg for her life and not harm her, and Ben shuts the door on her, locks it, and F her.
Does he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Oh yeah, because I just started laughing hysterically because I was like, yes.
So I want to get to the end part and talk about that kind of as a whole, because I think that that was where I was the angriest as a person who just has the basic knowledge of how to defend yourself in situations.
Even they get McAvoy's wife, Kira, right?
Yeah.
They get her out and get her to fall off the roof to kill her, but then they kick the ladder away. So I'm like, well, how are you going to get down yourself?
I think the ladder gets kicked away during them like struggling to not get shot by Kira. So it's like it's happenstance. It wasn't on purpose. The problem that I have with that scene, let's just go into it. The problem I have with that scene is I didn't feel this way for most of the movie, but when they were outside on the roof, I looked at how it was shot and thought, this feels like they got coverage and tried to edit something together. It didn't feel like a planned sequence as much as some of the other stuff in the film did. It felt like there was I was going, well, that shot doesn't mean anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's probably because that's really how the original one does not end. Like,
maybe
none of that is in there. So let me. The original ending is they actually leave the farm again because they go back, get Hoppy, they have a conversation with them. They leave again after staying for a little bit longer, which is like, why? And even in the newer one, it's like, and you're staying for what reason?
Right, yeah.
So they leave again. They end up pulling over, and the McAvoy's character from the original one tracks them down. So I guess they're not that far away from, and ends up taking the daughter and wife hostage. And then the babysitter is actually a part of it.
Interesting.
In the original one, and they get them away, cut the girl's tongue out.
Jeez.
And then they end up killing Ant, but in the original one, his name is Abel. They drown him. So now they have their next family.
They don't cane him?
No.
They don't cane Abel? That's so sad.
So they're setting up their next family, and then generally Ben and Louise are led into a rock quarry naked, and they're generally stoned to death.
That is a Europe film, isn't it?
Yeah. And
European, sorry.
And then
you know why they're called Europeans? Because you can always see everyone's genitals in their movies. And you can always go, oh, European. That's just how it goes.
Well, there is full frontal male nudity in the original one too. So
I don't think we've ever needed full frontal male or female nudity in our movies. But what do I know? I'm just a filthy American.
So after the couple is killed, then they're off to the next plot to ruin the next family's life.
And now
Agnes is
That's
and it's,
awful.
it just kind of ends, and it's very depressing.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you hate that ending.
Yeah, I didn't like it just because it ends. It's very anticlimactic, and it's very hard to believe, like, the acting for these people that are supposed to be horrible people, they're just not that convincing to me.
If it was James McAvoy and this actress who plays Kira, who I'm going to attempt this. Her name is Aisling Francioski, I think is how it's pronounced. It's probably not, but that's how I think it's pronounced.
Close enough.
If it was them in the Danish thing with that ending, do you think you'd like it better?
No.
Oh, really?
No. just because I just don't like the way that it's written for the end.
Interesting.
I wanted there to be more of a fight, which I got in the new one.
Yeah.
I wanted there to be more cat and mouse stuff, chasing each other and coming to some. Even if McAvoy and the wife win in the new one, I would have been happy just the way that it was paced.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what if the ending of this had changed and they died on that roof?
I would have been fine with it.
I think so too. I actually think it would have been
because
a better satire.
Just like they were stupid.
Yeah.
All because of a stupid stuffed bunny rabbit too. That's
right. Yeah.
Even more.
and the thing is, so okay. So what I saw in the movie, and this is why I think it is well written. I have that one issue with the setup being a little bit too much like revealing, but I think that there is 9 different examples in here of places where you go, okay, and that's exactly why when your wife says she's uncomfortable, you pack your bags and you leave. And when dad says we shouldn't go, you need to get over this thing. Child, I love you, but you need to get over it. Listen to dad. listen to each other. And when someone has the feeling that this is going to be a problem, you should listen to each other and figure out a way out of that problem. None of the characters do that in this because they're not they're not a coherent family unit because of we find out about her, having kind of this emotional affair with this other person. Not just emotional affair; she sees his wee-wee. But like, there's that stuff, and so they're a broken family unit to some extent.
Yeah.
So you understand why they're not doing those things. But my gosh, after thousands of years of humanity walking this earth, having the ability to develop relationships, have we not yet figured out that when a woman goes, I'm not safe here, you're not safe there? Are you stupid? Just drives me nuts.
Well, so that the original one would drive you even more nuts because they come back, stay, and then they leave again.
And yeah, well, like I think that was one thing that it was a smart choice to have it be where the dad trying to do the right thing, and the only time he actually tries to be an effectual, strong man who is standing up for something actually gets them in worse trouble. And I was talking to Hannah about that last night, and I was like, this is going to sound awful, but in that situation, I would have kept driving.
Well, see, and this is where Jessica, if Jessica and I were in this situation and she saw the bed with the stains on it, she would have been like, nope, we're out of here.
Yeah.
We're gone now.
Yeah.
And I would have been like, okay, let's get our stuff.
And like throughout childhood, I grew up in ranch houses and stuff. And yeah, sometimes sheets just had stains on them, and you just go like, a stain doesn't mean dirty. Stain can just be colorant, and like that could be anything. But if it's clean, then if it's been washed, then it's fine. Really, it is. It just looks gross. But the first time that I don't know, there was just like there was so much uncomfortable stuff that was happening, and the vegetarian thing. Why did Ben not stand up for his wife in that moment?
Because he's a wuss,
right? Why? See, that's the thing. So at once the turn happens and they throw Ant in the pond and then hold them at gunpoint, and Ben says, "Why are you doing this?" And James Patty says, "Because you let us." Yeah. And he's right.
And that's right out of the original one too.
There are so many things in life. Now, we don't try to be political on this show.
No.
But if I have ever seen a movie that shows exactly how governments work.
Well, that's supposed to be God's Not Dead 5 that we're playing right now, which I don't buy for a second.
But I think that because you let us that is exactly how governments reach a level of power where they can control a population.
Yeah.
And I think that was the other thing that was frustrating me. Was I was just like, I've watched this happen in American politics my whole life, because they push a little further and they push a little further and they push a little further, and it's there's the old adage about if you put a frog in a pot of cold water and turn up the heat, it will not realize it's dying until it's already too late.
Oh, it's not the Alex Jones thing where like they're putting the chemicals in the water to make the frogs gay.
They're making the frogs gay.
I laugh at that every time. It's just so absurd.
Look, don't get mad at me, the internet, but my favorite Alex Jones quote is this. He's on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he just goes, "Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little retarded. It's the funniest. It's so funny. I know people get really mad about that word, but that's not me. Alex Jones said it, and it is very funny when he says it like that.
Well, he is. So
yes. But yeah, I think I wanted in this movie, I was angry because that Ben was so useless to protect his family.
Yeah.
And Patty's a terrible, terrible, terrible person in every way, shape, and form. But he's right that Ben is a weak man and has allowed this to happen to his family. And you know, like Ben, he says something at one point where she really wants to leave, and he's like, let me get some coffee in me first. They've been drinking a whole lot. This is just another reason I don't drink alcohol, because I am always ready to run away from any social situation. But you know, like, okay, you know, you don't want to crash while you drive your family away, but at the same time,
it's a Tesla too, so how
just let it autopilot. It's fine.
Seriously, you can get away. You don't use that as an excuse.
Set the GPS. It's fine.
Right.
But yeah, there was just so much of that was why I was getting angry, is because I was sitting there going, in every situation, I was like, okay, let's talk about when they're climbing out onto the roof, right? They've got Aunt, they've got Agnes, they're all alive and okay. And they are trying to go out the window that Mike had come through earlier. There's a ladder out there. They're going to get away that way. While they're on the roof, Kira shows up with a double-barrel shotgun and is able to climb out onto the roof, and then she slips and falls and dies. Bye, Kira. But she should have never gotten that far, and I can tell you exactly how they would have avoided this. When Mike comes in and he's going through the house, he's got a shotgun in his hands.
Right.
That has 2 shots. It's a double-barrel shotgun. Here's the deal. Mike dies with a hammer in the back of his head.
Yeah.
No one picks up the frickin' shotgun.
Or finds, I'm sure, extra shells that are in his coat.
Right. They spend so much time aimlessly, calmly meandering around the house when they should be panicking. But in the one moment where they are given a weapon on a silver platter, ta-da, shotgun, they both go, I don't know how guns work, and walk away without it. And what should have happened, if you are not an idiot, and Ben is a freaking idiot, if you're not an idiot, what you do is you get up to that top room and you look at your wife dead in the eye and you say, look, there is a ladder out there. You are going to take the children. You're going to go down that ladder. I'm going to make sure you are not followed. And you stand right there at the edge of the doorway. And when there's only one point of ingress in that room, and it's that doorway, you point the gun
when her head comes
at
around that
head
corner
level, and the moment you see movement, you pull that trigger.
Yeah.
And if you are not ready to do that, when these people are, you know they will cut your child's tongue out and kill you. If you are not willing to do that, you deserve to die.
Man, I've never seen you get that upset. That's pretty funny.
Man, I was so pissed last night. I was literally yelling at home. I was like, none of this could have happened.
Well, so here's an even smaller point that I got upset with too. Louise finds the carving utensils that they used on the goose.
Oh yeah.
And then she grabs the fork instead of this giant knife that's in there. I'm like,
how stupid can you be?
Right.
And then she stabs herself with the fork because she sticks it in her pocket. Who sticks a fork in their... Have you ever put a fork in your pocket, Andy?
No.
Before I say this. Okay, only idiots put forks in their pockets.
No, but I'm like, so you take the fork instead of the knife?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Also, I have a big problem with her in that scene because she's standing there pushing on this thing. She sees his arm, and... Do you remember when you were a child going, the leg bone's connected to the shin bone? Yeah. You know where his head is. There's no way you don't know where his head is. And you stab once in his arm instead of going stab, turns, face.
Not even just in the neck.
Just anything. Even if you don't know exactly where his head is, with someone's arm in there and they're trying to shove themselves through the door, and you can use your brain to say, oh, head will be in this general region, and poke at it.
Even the fork in the neck would have been effective more than, like, unless you're Michael Myers.
Yeah. But this guy's not. He's a regular man.
Right.
I mean, okay, that's not entirely true. He's a jacked freaking man. James McAvoy is in the best shape of his life. But it made me really angry because what I hate to see in real life is people who are unwilling to do what is necessary to protect their own family.
Well, and that was set up earlier in the film where he takes him out to hunt that fox and he can't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So James McAvoy is already like testing the weaknesses of this couple.
Right. Yeah, that was what I was talking about earlier. Like everything is a test to see, will this person kill? Will this person fight? Will this person do anything?
So then they know.
And it's not just the fox in that scene, it's the conversation about when he goes, "Oh, we heard you guys arguing last night." And she cheated or whatever. He's like, well, she didn't really cheat, it was just text. And it's like, well, that's cheating. That is. So, like that's an emotional affair at the very least. And so, that being something where it's a test of two different things at the same time. And then Patty using that to try to push his buttons later. The problem with that is that it doesn't actually work to push Mike's button or Ben's buttons at all. He gets a little angry in his face for about 2 seconds, and then the movie goes, "All right, forget about that. Bye bye."
Yeah.
So it's not perfect, but yeah, I just
that scene in the original one plays out a little bit differently because they're not fighting; they're having sex, and James McAvoy's character in the original one is like standing there. There's like this big window to their bedroom, which is kind of weird. And he's standing there watching them having sex for a while before he walks off.
Huh.
And
never have sex in a room with windows.
That's where
you find an insane asylum with padded walls, and that's how you do it.
So that's where Agnes is screaming out for the parents, and then how she ends up in bed with
Kira and Patty. Yeah.
But they don't really show that well in the new one. That's where I was a little...
Do you actually hear Agnes screaming for them in this one?
No, because I was like, that was written in there, but I'm like, it didn't actually happen.
Yeah. I think the problem I had with that was that I couldn't tell if that was Kira lying or not when she said that Agnes was calling out for help and they weren't coming.
So they're just, like in the original one, she is.
Okay, yeah.
And they're too wrapped up in each other to notice that their daughter's like screaming for them.
In the original, are they also like basically their relationship is on the rocks?
No.
Okay, no. So that explains why they were going at it instead of going at it with words.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Again, though, if there's a window, close the shades. You never know who's going to come along and just be like, "Oh, free."
Well, but did you notice while they were having that argument, McAvoy's sitting silhouette is at the door?
Yes. So I noticed that, and
yeah. So Jessica knows that too.
I heard Jessica lean over and say it to you, and you were like, "I know." And then Lucas leaned over to me and goes, "I'm not gonna lie, that kind of scared the crap out of me with him in the doorway." And I was just like, "It's a good moment." That's the thing. It's like there's a lot of really good stuff in this, and I know I often come across as overly critical.
And it's not to detract from the film. Like, you still liked it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You still may see it again at some point.
At some point, but I will have ibuprofen before. Because I know this is an extremely personal thing, but it boils my blood to see men who won't protect their family.
See, I guess I'm just so used to seeing it in a whole bunch of different movies that it doesn't bother me at this point.
Yeah, this is not a genre I have delved into too much. So I actually, most of the time, growing up, my dad is absolutely the guy who, if something happened and someone insults his wife, will get up from the table and say, "Honey, we're going to leave now." And then if that person comes after them, he'll pull a shotgun on them.
I almost beat up a 15-year-old girl at Cinemark because she made a comment to my wife.
I still think you should have.
I agree. Jessica thought otherwise.
I mean, look, Jessica kept you out of jail, but that little girl, if you call someone else the B word because they try to get you to stop talking during
because
the
you're
movie,
an idiot,
because you're being rude, you suck, and you should be beat. Yeah. You should never hit a woman.
And you should not have been in the R-rated film to begin with.
Right, yeah. But she, at the very least, should have been scolded.
No, Jessica literally had to pull me back down in my seat to keep from jumping over the... I'm not
surprised. I would have had the same reaction. Like,
yeah, I was upset.
Like, and it's not about being a macho man, or it's not about the Andrew Tate, because that's the thing is, like, throughout the movie, Patty keeps making these points about men needing to be rough and needing to, to be able to be assertive and all of those things, which he is in the worst possible way.
Right.
There is a positive form of masculinity that says, when someone insults my wife, when someone wants to cause harm to my family, I'm going to be the first one in front of them.
Yep.
Not because they can't do anything themselves, but because they sure as heck shouldn't have to.
Right.
That's my job.
I fully agree with you on that. Yes.
And Ben fails at that in almost every single way possible.
So do you believe the one line of dialogue that Kira had saying, like, she was the first one and that she was Agnes at some point, and Or was that her just lying just to get out of that situation?
I think the movie lays out enough that you could potentially buy it. Like, she's bruised from, when they go to the cold water therapy, she's got the bruises on her.
Yeah.
And, they've been together for 17 years and she's very clearly much younger than him. So, and then they throw out the stuff about her being part of the foster care system, which could explain how he would have gotten his hands on her easily enough and stuff. And then, like, the whole scene that happens when they go to the chef's to Mike's place, and they're talking about how they still every day, and it's like, well, that seems like something a man would want to do, but she would not. So like, I think there's enough groundwork laid that you could buy it, but it was still a manipulation tactic by her. So I think two things are true at the same time. She was a victim of his, who has now decided that this is what she's just in it.
She's used to
in it
that
one way or
life
another
now, so she there's no way out.
Right. But also, it was a dishonest representation of herself, because she's no longer even if she's still his victim, she is a predator in this situation. And I absolutely 110% do not understand why, when they were in that shed, Kira still had a head. You have a shotgun in your hands. These people are threatening to take
and there's at least one
your
load
life.
in that shotgun.
There's at least one. Yep, and you know that.
So make it count.
Like, there's 2 barrels on it. I think these people are at least intelligent enough to count to 2.
Right. And that's where, once again, Agnes is like the smartest character and grabs the syringe as soon as it's dropped.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize that until later in the film, when Patty's down, almost down for the count, or and Agnes pulls out. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
I had forgotten she'd picked it up, but again, this is something that the Crow never learned. Chekhov's gun. This time though is Chekhov's ketamine. But I liked that. Yeah, she actually had agency in that moment. And I think that was another one of the reasons where I was just like, I wish I liked Agnes more throughout the movie, because she has those moments of pure brilliance. Like, she's
also annoying.
But she's also annoying. But like, she's an 11-year-old girl, and I've never met an 11-year-old who wasn't. I was annoyed by myself at 11.
Yeah, and Drew has his moments too where I get annoyed with him. So
as parents are wont to do with their children. But yeah, I think that I was just so incredibly frustrated by the amount of times where I'm like, there was your way out, there was your way out, there was your way out. No, I actually had to go to the little boys' room when they got away the first time. It was Ben who made the decision to turn around, right? It wasn't Luis pushing him.
It was Ben.
Weak.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm sorry, but there was just like moment
we'll buy another bunny rabbit.
Right.
Like, yeah, seriously.
And
let's
I
go.
understand she was having a panic attack. She's scratching herself. Here's how you deal with that as someone with 2 brain cells.
Sedate her.
Which is the most that I have. No, you can't. You pull over, you let your wife get in the back of the car to hold your daughter, and you keep driving as far away from the people. 2 adults who just put your child in their bed.
Yeah.
In their underwear. Oh, heck no.
See, the original one, they were naked.
Oh, no.
Which was even worse.
God, I hate Europe.
And it makes that scene even more disturbing. But
yeah, that's incredibly disturbing. Like,
yeah.
I don't like knowing as much as I do about James McAvoy's bulge. No. So if that had been full frontal, I don't think I would have ever emotionally recovered.
Yeah. But I love the fact that Ant gets his revenge in the end.
Yes.
And I thought that was awesome.
I love it and I hate it from a psychological standpoint, because that boy now has to he's going to have
Scarring.
the trauma from everything, and then knowing that he took someone's life, which no matter what the situation is a scarring thing.
Yeah.
And like, did he, from a worldly perspective, did he earn that with all the stuff he went through? Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
From a spiritual perspective, man, that is, in your anger, do not sin is the biblical principle. And murdering he wasn't a threat anymore. It wasn't self-defense at that point. It was revenge. Is what it was.
Yeah.
And biblically speaking, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, which means we don't get to do those things that we wish we could do, like beat up a 15-year-old girl when she calls our wife a B word. But But yeah, it was heartbreaking, that scene. I like the way it's shot for the most part. That scene is very much
and it's probably the bloodiest part of the entire movie.
Yeah, for sure. You had a double barrel shotgun that you could have picked up, and you picked hydrochloric acid from the bathroom countertop. What's wrong with you? Gosh, I mean, good on you for using that.
Yeah, but that'll do damage too. That's
sure.
At least they didn't pick up like a plunger and go, "Oh yes, we're going to defend ourselves with this."
Just James McAvoy trying to get through the door. She just goes thump onto his face, and he's just like wobble wobble wobble.
Because I've seen that used once in a movie from the 70s called Phantom of Paradise. And it's kind of a more updated version of like Phantom of the Opera.
Uh-huh.
And so the Phantom at one point, like there's pop singer singing in the shower, and he comes through with a plunger and gets the guy right in the mouth and say, "Don't ever sing that song." And it's pretty funny, actually.
If you want crap to come out of your mouth, I'm gonna come plunge it back in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
So that's the only time I've ever seen that used.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I want to find something funny to do with the plunger now. I don't know what it would be, but I want to, you ever just want to break new ground in a random realm? You just be like, I want to see what's new in the world of what could I come up with that no one's ever done with spatulas.
Oh, so this is the real life situation. So our office manager here like ordered a plunger off of Amazon one day, thinking it was and it was one that was about 12 inches tall.
Oh, it was one of the teeny tiny
ones. Yes. And she got it, and she's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "That's the plunger you ordered." And she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yep, that's your fault."
Always check the product dimensions and know the difference between an apostrophe and the quotation marks, because that's a foot or an inch.
Yeah.
Respectively.
It's
just
still
in case
pretty
you're not
funny,
sure.
though.
That is very funny. I actually think you should just buy a bunch of those for her birthday and be like, since you love them so much. Yeah, that's really funny. Gosh. Yeah, I think we've covered most of the stuff. Okay, the outdoor lunch scene with Cotton Eye Joe. This is where things really start to get super uncomfortable. The whole thing is so...
That's when they're starting to make the decision that they need to go.
But they'd already left.
Oh, that's right.
But then they got sucked back into it. And I'm just like, how stupid are you to get sucked back into it? But then again, there are so many in my own life where I can look at it and go, I've put up with people who I shouldn't have for way too long, who did the same kind of stuff. I worked for a guy who will remain nameless for legal reasons, but he absolutely did this kind of stuff where he would talk about loyalty and all these things, and it was a manipulation tactic. And the moment that I did something, I didn't take money from him to buy something for an endeavor that he wanted me to go on. I gave him the money back. He ghosted me, and then he spent the next year trying to ruin my reputation. Because he didn't have control over me, because I wasn't loyal. And to him, loyalty is doing whatever he says, regardless of whether or not I have, because he gave me a little bit of money to do this thing, but there was extra money I was going to have to spend. And he paid me $75 a day for 16-hour work days that were sporadic, because the film industry is not. And just so we're very clear, I was worth way more than $75 a day. I knew more about how to use his equipment than he did. And anyway, point is, I've been in these situations. I get it, which is why I was so incredibly angry.
That sounds like my time at Showbiz Cinemas.
Yeah. Also sounds like your time at just anywhere in New York. There's no way you were paid enough to deal with that attitude.
No. But, I was going to school at the time, too. I was working full-time and going work full-time.
Man, that's brutal.
And being an assistant manager of a theater in New York City is an adventure, to say the least. And 8-screen theater that went up instead of like...
Ooh.
So the theater that I worked at was a full glass front, escalators going all the way up, and a 70 millimeter screen.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah,
I mean, that's neat.
But if you had like any kind of vertigo, looking down those escalators, or it was kind of creepy.
Being up on the top floor of it was like the original Macy's in Chicago when I was working on a show up there. I looked down and was like, I get that this saves in the space, like how much land you have to take up to build stuff, but like we are not meant to be up this high. I don't get vertigo though. I the whole time I wanted to base jump. I was just like, could I pull that parachute quick enough to survive? I don't know. And at that point, I I was in an unhealthy relationship. So if the parachute hadn't worked, I would have been fine with that too.
Oh, come on. Then you wouldn't have been on this podcast working with me.
I'm not saying I was thinking clearly. Suicide is never the answer. I'm just saying I would have been fine with it.
Okay.
Okay. I do want to point something out.
Okay.
That is, it's because of the movie, but is not about the movie. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Just really very quickly.
Okay.
If you don't know the difference between a double barrel shotgun, a shotgun that could have more rounds than a double barrel shotgun, a handgun, semi-automatic, automatic, whatever, educate yourself on the nomenclature, because when every shotgun that we saw in this movie was double barrel, and I think that might be actually a legal thing with the part of Europe that they're in. Like you can't have a shotgun that you can load like 8 shells into or whatever. There are certain places where you're not allowed to have.
So it's not a pump action.
Pump action. So in some places you can have a double barrel because it's 2 shots. You can't do more shots than that without having to reload. Which we'll leave the freedom argument aside. Caw-caw, Eagles. But if someone fires a shotgun at your Tesla and you know that the area that you're in only allows double barrel shotguns, it's likely that's the thing the person has, even if you can't really see them in the dark.
Yeah, after 2 shots, rush them.
Exactly. Duck down and hit the gas pedal. Also, they could have gone through that gate. That gate wasn't
not that strong,
stopping that Tesla from going through.
No.
Do you know how heavy Teslas are? They're like 3 times heavier than the average car because of the batteries. You have a battering ram that at the very least, if you punch through it and the thing catches on fire, that will distract the people chasing you because a lithium fire does not go out. I just learn about gun nomenclature and stuff. Educate yourself for it. God forbid you end up in a situation like this. But if you're in Europe and you know that double barrel shotguns is pretty much the only thing that people can get their hands on, legally at least, then you know you have 2 shots. And that first shot did not go through the windshield. It was like birdshot or something. It didn't have it cracked the windshield, sure, but you got another shot in that windshield, buddy.
Well, here's another thing to be learned from that too. Always know your surroundings and your exit routes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot tell you the number of times I have heard a sound in the middle of the night, gotten up, and in my underwear cleared my house with my 9mm. And made sure that we were safe. We live next to a crackhead. I have to.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm not choosing the underwear thing. That's just what I sleep in. So when the sound happens at 3 a.m, I'm not going, you know what? Let me put on pants so I don't embarrass myself in front of the robbers.
I'm not much better. I sleep in shorts and a concert T-shirt. So
see, but at least when I run out, you're gonna see the end of a 9mm. And then you're going to see arms, and then you're going to see man boobs, and there's nothing you can do about it. So don't break into my house.
I have that just in case Jehovah's show up, and I have the most satanic T-shirt I own on.
The real threat, Jehovah's
That's
Witnesses.
Right.
But yeah, I think that if you, I was talking to Hannah last night, and I realized just how little she knew about guns, and what's a double barrel and over under, all of those things. She's like, I wouldn't have known that he only had 2 shots. And we got to see a close-up of Mike when he got out of the car and shot. Yeah. They didn't, so there is that. But if you know the area you're in and the gun laws, you can make an educated guess, an educated wish that they only have 2 shots.
Well, even from what it looked like, it didn't have a pump, it didn't have a reload on it. So you got 2 shots, and then once at least one of those that you know of is spent, just like you said, go low.
Yeah.
And
you tell your kids, get on the floorboard, and then you very quickly go, that's my attack vector, turn the wheel 3 degrees, duck down, punch it.
Not to mention, Mike's not that intimidating either.
No, not really. I mean, he does look like, if he was homeless, he'd be a scary man.
Yeah. That looks like in New York City.
He did. I kept thinking that. I was like, I just know I've seen that guy screaming about the end of the world in New York.
Or this is a good story too. Like the one family vacation, it was me, Jessica, and Isis, and Jessica's sister went to New York City. Mm-hmm. And the first thing we have is the Uber pulls us up to our hotel in the city. And of course, right across the street is some homeless guy looking to drop trout and start playing with himself.
Well, don't do that. I was going to come up with a joke, but I think we really should just address that as a society.
Jessica was like completely like, she's like, oh my God. No, I was like, just turn the other way.
Like,
it's New York
City. That's just Steve. Don't worry. It doesn't take him long.
He'll be fine in a couple of seconds. Just leave him alone. He's
no stud, let me tell you. So yeah, I think that the movie just has a lot of stuff that we talked about. Afraid being a cautionary tale. I think this is a cautionary tale for those of you who have not learned. I'm no master tactician or anything. I don't even know if I clear my house correctly, but I know not to let myself be backlit. I know how to clear a corner. I know how to clear a room and make sure that I'm not getting snuck up on from behind. And those things you can learn on YouTube. Learn them on YouTube. Just do it. Okay, so I think I talked about all the stuff that annoyed me. I really
wouldn't think you actually like this one the way you talked about it.
I know. Well, it's just that I don't like characters who make stupid decisions, but I can't say that these are bad characters. They're written like people who are stupid. So, yeah, that's exactly how that would play out. I did think it was weird a little bit that like once they lock themselves in the house, they're meandering around, and it kind of feels like the first scene where a bunch of teenagers are digging around and going, "Oh, what's this Jumanji board?" It kind of felt like that pace rather than the panic. He panics for a second, but then you don't see him moving quickly. And I think Mackenzie Davis's character Luis does a little more, but it felt like there needed to be more of that like urgency in those scenes rather than the like. I don't know if they were trying to give it a breather for pacing reasons or stuff, but we'd had a lot of just uncomfortable breather. I didn't need more.
Right.
That being said, yeah, good movie.
Yeah. I liked it.
But learn about guns, people. It's not hard. It's like you can get into the minutia, but just know semi-automatic, non-automatic, like a bolt action rifle versus a semi-auto.
Versus fully and
most
action.
people can't get their hands on fully automatic weapons.
No, they're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to. Well, you can get your hands on them in America with a proper license, but you have to you have to register that gun with the ATF, so they know exactly who has it.
Or at any gun show that you go to.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I keep hearing about the gun show loophole, but I've never actually. I've been to gun shows.
Yeah, I've seen documentaries of that where it happens.
I'm sure there's people out there doing stuff they shouldn't, but I've always had to show ID before they even let me just touch the gun that I'm not even buying.
You come up and buying a gun, I would hope they ask for more than an ID for you.
Yeah, well, they ask first off if my parents are there, because I look like a child.
Yeah, 12-year-old.
They're like, "What do you want a gun for, son? You got a squirrel that's bugging your dog or something?"
Yeah, but this is Texas.
Yeah, I walk up, I'm like, "I need a BB gun to deal with this squirrel issue." And they're like, "BB gun, sir? What you need is an Abrams tank." Now, let me tell you about this. We've included leather seats. That way, you can kill in style. No, I don't know, man. I did like the movie. I was frustrated by the characters. And I think that was what the movie wanted to do. Yeah. So while I'm talking a lot about the frustration with things, it's because I think that's actually an important thing for society, is for us to know how to defend ourselves.
So I'm curious to see how you're going to react to next week's movie, too.
What's next week?
Never Let Go.
Never Let Go. Yeah, that one, I saw 5 seconds of the trailer with a bunch of hands wrapped around a tree and was like, all right, I don't want to know any more than that. That looks awful and terrifying, and I'm sure it will be great. I don't know.
No, it's Halle Berry, 2 kids.
Yeah.
And
I hope she's a better defender.
I hope people don't get it confused with The Watchers, because it kind of looks like that a little bit, but it's definitely more sinister. It's R-rated.
Oh, is it really?
And it's going to be definitely a lot more intense. Yeah.
When does The Wild Robot come out? Is that next week? 2 weeks. Too? Oh, 2 weeks from now. Okay,
2 weeks. Cool. Next week is Transformers, which I figured we'd skip.
Yeah, I think Never Let Go is going to be an interesting.
Never Let Go is going to be more interesting, and then after that, Wild Robot. And then we need to get to watch the Christopher Reeve thing at some point.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely want to see Superman, which you cannot say without the pause in the middle or you get sued.
Like the fact that I shortened the trailer for that now on.
Is it, you shortened it?
Well, there's 2 versions. There's like the 2 hour or the 2-minute, 20-second version. And then there's just a 40-second one. I figured, like, when I was going over the trailer packs this week, I'm like, yeah, I've pushed this long enough. 40 seconds it is.
Yeah. It's going to be good, though.
And then my wife actually leaned over last night. She's like, this trailer pack is really long. I said, yeah, but it's less than 15 minutes and it's less than Cinemarks. Thank you. Bye.
I just want people to be excited, but also I still respect their time enough to not make it 1 hour of previews.
Which I really... I don't have high hopes for the film, but the last Venom trailer that we watched last night actually looks pretty good.
Let's get into news because that was actually the first thing I had on it.
Okay.
Yeah, Speak No Evil is very good.
Yes, go see it.
But it will make you angry if you ever have thought about, how do I protect my family? If you've never had that thought, you'll just be like, oh, they do a good job. Anyway. Okay, so the Venom Last Dance actually looks like a fun ride.
Yeah,
I don't know if that means it looks good, but it looks fun.
But it looks better than Kraven the Hunter does.
Yeah. I laughed so hard when there's that moment in the Venom trailer where big hand and he slaps the guy and he just kind of slides across the floor. I was like, that's fun. That's fun.
But that's comic booky, so that's allowed.
But that was the stuff that was selling me on the movie. That, and I love that Venom's tongue is hanging out way more in this than it ever has. Well, because the comics I grew up seeing, Venom's tongue is always just all over the place, and it was not. They did it a little bit in the movie, but this time, like, there's even when he's in Tom Hardy mode, there's a shot of the tongue being like, blah, blah, blah. It's so funny.
And there's. I think this one's going to be close to the comic book, even though it's PG-13. Mm-hmm. I don't have a runtime yet.
Okay.
But I figure it's going to be about 2 hours.
Okay.
But actually, it doesn't look bad.
It looks like, just a fun ride. And I, comic book movies, I love, Civil War is a little bit more serious. I think Brave New World's going to be an interesting movie.
Yeah.
The trailer for Brave New World, I thought was like one of the best Marvel trailers I've ever seen. Like the sound effects and everything. Props to the guys who edited that. Great trailer.
Yep. And I just ordered all the merch yesterday for that. So I got some cool stuff coming in for that.
Anything you can share as a sneak peek, or is that an industry secret?
No, none of it's secret. I even saw pictures, so it's not even embargoed. So there's a grip 32-ounce cup that I ordered with the shield as the lid for it.
Nice.
A big giant popcorn bucket. That's 230 ounces. That's got like a print on the outside and inside.
Nice.
A Captain America helmet that's going to be able to be a popcorn vessel.
Oh, cool.
And if the usual tubs and cups and everything else that I get.
Cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll have to buy it. I love Captain America. I do.
Yeah.
God.
I'll have to put some of that stuff aside for you because I have hopefully. That's a crazy weekend next year too. Valentine's Day weekend has Captain America right now. Yep. This new Smurfs movie. And the next...
My condolences to the world.
Well, I can't stand any of those.
I can't either.
But they do well.
Yeah.
Like it or not. And then the new Bridget Jones's film is going to be Valentine's next year, too.
Yeah, I forgot that. What's it called? Bridget Jones's... Baby, is it? Yeah.
Something... I could care less because I just can't stand Renee Zellweger. So she blew me off, and that was it. I've had it.
Wait, now hold on a second. She blew you off.
Yeah. So
did you have a date plan with Renee Zellweger at some point? Oh,
no.
Okay.
So here's the scenario and what happened. When I was running a theater in Salisbury,
the steak.
No, it's a city in North Carolina.
Oh, is that where the name for the Salisbury steak comes from?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, ignore my stupid. I'm sorry I interrupted.
It's where a film called Leatherheads was shot with George Clooney and Renee Zellweger, and John Krasinski was in that too. That's one of his first things. So the cops that did security for the theater that I ran also did security for this press conference. So I got snuck in. And took my poster with me, and George Clooney signed my poster, talked with me for like an hour. Super nice guy.
Really?
Loved the conversation. Like,
I
very
had no idea you talked to George Clooney.
Yeah.
Of course we're seeing wolves in theaters.
Yeah. And then come to Renee Zellweger nope. She wouldn't. She refused to talk to me or sign my poster and walked away. So that's how I'm like, you know what? The heck with you.
That's a bit rude. I don't even think
it is.
Like even Ryan Reynolds doesn't do that, and I think he's probably a real tool. So
he was nice the couple of seconds that I met him. Yeah. So
that was all Renee Zellweger had to give you. All right, well, we're gonna ignore Bridget Jones's baby.
Yeah, that's all you had to do was just sign my poster, not even talk to me. Just sign my poster for it, and she wouldn't even do that.
Well, I think it's fair to say that neither of us have really any interest in that movie anyway.
No.
Just from a movie standpoint.
I don't like the other two.
I've never seen them. I don't care.
I've actually seen them.
Well,
Yeah, sorry.
Andy, there are resources that can help you. There are places you can go where you can talk to someone about the things you've experienced. Anyway, this episode's not sponsored by BetterHelp.
And it's not sponsored by Grand Avenue either, although I wish it was.
And it's not sponsored by anyone. This is brought to you entirely by two idiots who have nothing better to do on Friday afternoons.
Yep.
But yeah, Venom: The Last Dance actually looks like fun.
Yeah, it does.
Wicked Part 2, the movie release date has been moved up by a few days.
Okay.
Is this, in your opinion, news?
Not really.
Okay, moving on. Ana de Armas says that the John Wick spin-off Ballerina will be releasing a trailer soon.
Oh,
Did you see a trailer for this?
Yeah,
at
in
CinemaCon?
Vegas.
Okay.
They showed us about 15 minutes of the actual film.
Oh, really?
Because it was supposed to come out this year. Mm-hmm. And they decide to push it back a year because the reps from Lionsgate said, well, there was some tweaking and some things they wanted to do it, AKA they wanted to make it longer. Here's the thing that in hindsight seems very funny. They switched The Crow. The Crow was supposed to come out next year around in summertime. And Ballerina was supposed to come out this June. And then they switched it. And then Crow ended up getting pushed to August, where it died a horrible death and good riddance. Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully there's nothing about that film that was such a horrible experience for the death of the movie itself that it comes back. I'd rather it didn't.
But the stuff I saw had me excited. You know, it's got Ana de Armas in the title role, and Ian McShane is in this again too.
Oh,
and I love him and I love all the other John Wick films. Jessica hates them. Like, I took her to see number 3 and she refused. She's like, next one, you're on your own. I'm not going to see that with you. And so I was like, 4 I really liked. I keep hearing rumors that there's going to be a 5 now, and I hope not. The way that 4 ended, it needs to be it. But Ballerina is a spin-off movie and a different character, just in the same universe as John Wick. And the stuff I was excited.
I think there's a lot of interesting things you can do in a world full of assassins. So apparently they were doing reshoots. So Ana de Armas said that all we did in those reshoots had to be there. We got amazing footage. It's really spectacular. A trailer is coming out soon, I've been told. I saw it, and it's beautiful. I'm very proud of it. She said, it's really exciting. It's dangerous. It's sexy. It's very John Wick. I think people are going to be surprised. I'm biased. Of course, I like the movie, but it's really cool. It's going to be amazing.
I'm not going to be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Like they're movies made by stuntmen. Of course, the action's fantastic, which also Fall Guy, you know, like that movie, the action's really good. And I actually watched some behind the scenes stuff about that recently that made me go, oh, I really do like this movie. And like the fact that when they're in that garbage dump thing and they're dragging that down the road and it's spinning around, that's real. They did that.
Really?
That was not on a green screen. They dragged that across a bridge and shot all of that stuff. They augmented it by adding the sparks and stuff because they didn't want to actually destroy the road. But like they're really out there on the road doing these stunts, and it's really cool. But yeah, there was that trailer's coming soon. Looking forward to seeing that. Yeah. Ewan McGregor said that he's really hoping they get to do another season of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I hope not, because look, Obi-Wan Kenobi is probably in my top 5 fictional characters of all time. I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. It just everything about that guy is awesome to me. Obi-Wan, the character. Ewan McGregor, you take him or leave him as a person, but whatever. Better
than Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen may be a bad actor, but I don't know if he's said as much weird stuff. But yeah, they talked about doing a season 2, and I'm just like, get a different director. Don't do the shaky cam thing. Like, there were a lot of creative decisions on that I didn't understand when I watched it, and I really didn't watch it.
I am kind of avoiding all these Star Wars things anymore.
The Disney Star Wars is one of the greatest tragedies of cinema.
Yeah, and you've told me that too, so that's enough for me to stay away from it.
I understand that the prequels are, a little bit hokey and stuff, and people have their problems with them. And yeah, Jar Jar Binks is annoying now as an adult, but as a kid, I loved him, and that was the point. It does exactly what it's trying to do. And that battle on Mustafar, from a visual effects standpoint and the music and it has some of the greatest movie moments I can think of. And then,
John Williams' score always
incredible,
just fantastic.
And then you look at the originals, and it's like it is this adaptation of the hero's journey, and there are these characters that it's one of the earlier movies where you really see a female protagonist who doesn't need help and actually has to take charge. She's not a damsel in distress, even though she's a princess, but she's still feminine and like she's a strong woman, not like Atomic Blonde, where it's like she's taking on guys 5 times her size and kicking their rears.
But I liked Atomic Blonde.
I understand that, it's a lot like John Wick in that way of like the type of action
Charlize
stuff
Theron
it does.
kicking butt in that. Oh yeah, I was in.
I've seen enough clips where I'm like, that's not exact. That doesn't make any sense.
But you're not looking for realism in those things either.
Fair enough. But I'm not in Star Wars either, and I still think those characters. Okay, well maybe Atomic Blonde's a bad example, but the movies where it's like, oh, I'm strong. And I can do this because I'm a woman, and you said I couldn't because I'm a woman and I'm not a man.
Okay, I got one.
That's annoying.
Elektra.
Yeah. Yeah. I get annoyed by your character if your character has to say they're strong because they're not a man, that's not a strong female character. You've shot yourself in the foot. I think that's bad writing. I just think it is. Anyway, Judd Apatow is going to direct a Coke versus Pepsi movie, with Steven Spielberg producing. So the film is billed as the ultimate underdog tale of history's most iconic second-place contender vying for the number one spot.
It just better not be like the Jerry Seinfeld Pop-Tart thing.
I sure hope not.
That was something else.
Yeah, I've heard people say, like, some people are like, well, look, it's really dumb and bad, but it's kind of fun about it. And so, like, I enjoyed it on that level, but I never watched it. I saw it and was like, I don't think I cared this much about that.
Pop-Tarts, yeah.
The Wild Robot, some reviews have started coming in.
Cool.
And apparently they say it's being billed as a powerful and inspirational journey to perfection. So people are really liking it.
Good.
I didn't read any further than that. I want to go into it.
Did they get the quotes right? They didn't pull a Megalopolis, did they?
No one's ever going to pull a Megalopolis again.
Oh, do you have this in the news? Like Francis Ford Coppola is suing Variety.
Is they really?
Yeah, for like printing illegible sexual harassment stuff that Francis Ford Coppola did on the set of that movie.
Is it disproven?
No.
Look, here's what I would say. If he can prove that it didn't happen, he absolutely should sue the crap out of them.
Yeah.
If they can't prove it happened and he can't prove it didn't happen, maybe everyone should just shut up.
So that's probably what we're going to do the last week. Maybe instead of Wild Robot, is actually pay and go see that.
Maybe, yeah. Like I think it's going to be, but at the same time, I keep thinking about like how much my life is flying by, and I go, where do I want to spend my time? Do I want to watch something that's a journey to perfection, or do I want to watch Megalopolis? I don't know.
Yeah, Francis Ford hasn't made a movie in God knows how long.
Hey, sometimes it's like riding a bike, and other times it's like
not in this case.
It's like riding a unicycle, which is much
The
harder.
trailer for it is just weird. There's a reason I passed on it for this place.
Maybe Megalopolis is something that we'll watch once it's on streaming for free, and we'll come back and be like, oh yeah, we're glad we didn't spend our time on this. Also, I fell asleep 9 times.
Yeah, because it's long.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan is set to direct, star, and steal art in a new Thomas Crown Affair film.
Oh,
I liked Michael B. Jordan a lot.
So do I. I really Fruitville Station, the first film that he did.
Yeah.
Just very powerful film, and I thought that was fantastic. And I liked Without Remorse too. That went straight to Amazon. Unfortunately,
I didn't see that one. Was it good?
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay, that was one
and
that I
like
was like,
Creed
oh,
films.
I should look at that. Did you ever see the 1984 adaptation that he starred in? Or no, I'm sorry, Fahrenheit 451.
No, I never saw that.
I didn't see it. That's one of my favorite books of all time, though.
Yeah, that's
Fahrenheit
one of mine too. And Ray Bradbury, that and the Martian Chronicles.
I haven't read those.
The Martian Chronicle. It's just one book.
Okay.
And they made like a made-for-TV movie out of that.
Huh.
So that's something I saw yesterday. Max dropped the trailer for the Salem's Lot remake that's coming out in October. And it's been on the shelf for 2 years. And it's kind of a COVID casualty.
Yeah.
And then Warner Brothers
keep forgetting about that worldwide pandemic.
Yeah. Warner Brothers kept like teasing to bring it out into theaters and then shelving it, and then finally it's just going to Max, unfortunately. But the trailer looked actually really scary. So I'm excited for that.
Stephen King makes me not want to watch it.
But that book is really good.
There's no way he doesn't think about children in a way he shouldn't. I just don't like it. But yeah, Michael B. Jordan's going to be directing and starring in that. So that's something I'm kind of looking forward to seeing. I actually haven't seen the original Thomas Crown Affair. So.
Well, there's 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
There's
the
one. There's the one with.
You know what they say? Third time's the charm. Anyway, let's do The Crow again.
No, you need to stay away from that one. No, the original one was with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway, and then the first remake of that was Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo, and that one's pretty good too.
Yeah, that was the one that I had written down something about. Directed by John McTiernan.
Yeah, who did Die Hard.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah. Probably good then.
But then there's also Bring Out Medicine Man. That's a bad movie.
We all make mistakes. For instance, you agreed to do this.
That's not a mistake.
Just kidding. We have fun here. It's good thing.
Yes.
Colin Farrell might not waddle back for a second season of The Penguin. I'm not responsible for that title. That was from Joe Blow.
Yeah, I did see that.
But yeah, he said, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but it got in on me a little bit. By the end of it, I was whining and moaning to anyone who would listen to me that I wanted it to be finished. I tried to remind them that I had a grumpy attitude. I was still grateful and still honored. I grew up watching Burgess Meredith, and then Danny DeVito was my Penguin. So being a part of the lineage of that storytelling, it really did feel privileged. But by the end of it,
yeah, I did need to see that.
A lot of prosthetics and stuff. So I imagine that is tough to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because it doesn't even look like Colin Farrell.
No, not at all.
No.
The Burrows. Have you heard about this? So this is a new series created by Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, who did The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance for showrunner. So they're going to serve as showrunners, and they also are partnering up with the Duffer Brothers, who did the Stranger Things.
Okay.
Series. And so The Burrows has the following logline. In a seemingly picturesque retirement community in this New Mexico desert, a group of unlikely heroes must band together to stop an otherworldly threat from stealing the one thing they don't have: time. This is going to be starring Alfred Molina, Gina Davis, Alfred Woodard, and then there's some other people who I forgot to write down. But the Duffer Brothers said, we've been fans of Jeff and Will's writing for a long time, and when they pitched us their idea for the Burrows, we immediately knew they had something very special on their hands. While the heroes in the Burrows have a few more years on them than the kids in Stranger Things, they are a similarly lovable bunch of misfits, and we can't wait for you to join them on an adventure that turns scary, funny, and deeply touching, which is something that the Duffer Brothers do handle fairly well as showrunners for Stranger Things, for instance, which I know you haven't seen.
I've seen the first couple of seasons of Stranger Things. I just stopped in the middle of the one season, and I need to get back to it eventually. Just it gets kind of hard.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Far be it from me to judge you for not seeing something.
Because I really like David Harbour.
David Harbour's great, yeah.
Although I've heard the Hellboy movie that he did is really bad.
Not his fault. Not his fault.
Why is that?
Writing.
Oh, okay.
Mostly writing.
And that Emilia Jovovich is the bad guy in that? Yeah, no, I'm out.
Not a fan of Emilia Jovovich?
No, not at all.
Come on. But everything she's in is so consistently probably something that Drew will love.
Probably. There's only one film I can actually take her in. That's The Fifth Element.
That's
which
right.
You've never seen, I'm sure.
Now, hold on. Before you judge me. No, I haven't.
That was right.
But I have seen approximately 30 minutes of it before I had to stop and go do something else and forgot to come back to it.
You're the sci-fi nerd like I am, so
I love sci-fi.
You really need to see The Fifth Element.
Oh man, when I finally saw The Minority Report, I was
oh yeah, I like that.
I was losing my mind with how cool that movie is. Steven Spielberg is so good.
Yeah,
and then he's not. But yeah, this actually sounds interesting. A bunch of There's a theory out there on the internet that people don't want to watch old people on screen. And look,
that's not true. Look at the people coming to see Reagan.
Exactly. That's to be fair though, it's exclusively old people watching it.
But I was the youngest person in the theater when I saw it.
Yeah, and it's still exclusively old people watching it.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Sorry, had the opportunity was there.
So this thing almost sounds kind of like Bubba Hotep, to be honest.
Bubba Hotep?
Bubba Hotep. Yeah.
Bubba Hotep. What is that? Some sort of like country bumpkin pharaoh?
No, it's a Bruce Campbell film. Okay, so the whole concept.
All right, fine, ignore it. But that was a very good joke.
Yeah, it was a good joke. I give you credit. You're gonna laugh at this because it sounds like the dumbest movie ever.
Okay,
and it is, but it's a great bad movie.
Okay, cool.
So Bubba Hotep is supposed to be. The theory of it is that Elvis changed place with an impersonator, and he's still alive at a old folks home in Texas. With JFK, who is dyed black and played by Ozzie Davis, and they stuck him in a retirement home too to keep him quiet. Here's the plot to the film too.
What?
They band together to fight a soul-sucking mummy in the retirement home that they live in.
Okay, I have to see this. This is like 10,000 Beavers. I've got to watch this.
Bruce Campbell's portrayal of Elvis is really, really good.
That's not surprising. Bruce Campbell, I think, does not get a lot of credit for what he actually can do. Yeah,
I always like that show, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. I love that show.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
but yeah, this almost sounds like that.
Great. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a good bad movie.
I have some industry news that may actually catch you off guard. You may have learned this since last night. I don't know. Okay. But I think if you had known it last night, it would have been different. Flight Risk has been delayed.
Really?
Yes. So this happened on, I think it was a couple days ago that they announced this. So it was announced that they had pushed the movie back to January 24th, 2025. So I brought this up because the trailer was still on the screen last night, and I was like, maybe Andy doesn't know they delayed it.
No,
this is the first
don't.
time I've ever gotten industry information before you, so this is a big moment for me. But
or if I've seen it on the stuff that I look at, I completely glanced over it.
Or you thought it was Flight Plan, the Jodie Foster movie.
Well, and I finally got the right poster up in our coming soon case.
Oh, good.
So I'm like,
well, at least you know you have it for next month next year when you need it.
That's kind of disheartening because October there's not a whole lot of titles to begin with.
Yeah,
and they're pushing that. That might be the better move though too, because January is normally a dead month. So the competition that it's going to have is going to be Paddington and Peru, which is two completely separate audiences.
Paddington and Peru and Screamboat.
The Screamboat is no competition.
It's not a competition, but that's the other thing. It's like up against the more adult entertainment for the month. Apparently, though, January has become a pretty good place for mid-budget action movies, like Beekeeper earlier this year.
Which did really well.
To Joe Blow's thing. So
yeah.
So you know that's a recent example that they listed on Joe Blow.
Like I said, it's short. It's 91 minutes long.
Right. Yeah. So
which is great.
I'm sad because I wanted to watch this.
Yeah, me too.
And now even though
we were making fun of it off air before we started.
I wasn't making fun of it. I was enjoying the kitsch. But yeah, so it's been delayed because previously, so 6 movies are opening the weekend that it was originally. Smile 2, and then there was a bunch of other ones. Some are big, some are not. But there was it was much more crowded. And
most of them not though, because the only one I know that we're playing is Smile.
Yeah, for Grand Avenue for sure, but I think the wide release and some other places where they'd have more screens.
Saturday Night I think comes out the week before that same week too.
Yeah, so a lot of competition with that I think.
And yeah, I'm really gung ho on playing Saturday Night.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. That's gonna be good.
The trailer for that is just—it's
a fantastic trailer.
Yeah, man, and Jason Reitman behind that. Yeah, there's what is not to like about that? Seriously.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
That being said, we could watch it and change our mind entirely. That depends on how it turns out. But it's Jason Reitman, so it'll probably be good.
Yeah. You need to see Thank You for Smoking.
I do need to see Thank You for Smoking. Yeah.
Aaron Eckhart. Yeah, Jason Reitman. Fantastic film.
I might have told this story on the show. Did I tell you about the time I passed out in front of Aaron Eckhart?
Yeah, you did.
Totally passed out in the middle of a push-up. The most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. Oh goodness! How do you lose face in front of someone who once had 2 faces? That's the worst. Also Mel Gibson talked about his next directorial outing could be Lethal Weapon 5.
Yeah, that's been rumored for quite a while, though.
Well, apparently he said, I'm going to direct the 5th film in the Lethal Weapon series. Richard Donner, who did the other 4, sadly passed away. He was a good friend, and he kind of asked me, kind of tasked me with carrying on the flag with that one. He said that earlier this summer.
Number 4 was pushing it. I don't really see where they're going to go with 5.
I see what you mean, but also number 4, I think, has one of the best representations of a father-son relationship I've ever seen in a movie, with Donald Glover's character and his son, and kind of how they progress that. Also, I think 4 is the one where they had the fight in the mobile home on the highway, isn't it?
I think so, because I know Jet Li's in that one too.
Yeah, I think. Oh, hold on, I got to look that up because.
So can Danny Glover really pull off that line like he does in every film? Because at that point, he really is too old for this.
Too old for this. Yeah, it was Lethal Weapon 4, by the way. That was the one where they did the. That's one of my favorite action scenes of all time. I just thought, because I grew up in one of those homes, a mobile home. So seeing someone actually do something fun with it was good. No, my parents provided a nice home for us. I'm not ragging on that.
She looks like a nice woman from the Grand Avenue thing.
My mom. Yeah. Nicest woman in the world. Absolutely just the most pleasant, nice person. However, she does, you know how sometimes I ramble on for too long about a particular topic and try to give all of the context in the world? I got it from her.
Okay.
So, but that being said, I learned a lot that way. So,
Good.
you know, that's not a gripe. Well, I think that's all we have for the news. That's the news with Wicked, Ana de Armas, and the Ballerina trailer, and my mom being the best.
Okay, so what is Wicked changing the release date to?
Oh, it's changed to November, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, November 26th. So it just moved up a couple of days. It wasn't a lot, but
that's not a big deal.
That's why I asked.
I thought you were going to say if like part 1 was pushed off. I was like, because they don't want to compete with Moana.
Is it coming out at the same time?
Wicked has a little bit of an edge. It comes out a week before Moana 2 does.
Okay, all right.
So they're going to have a full head of steam, but I have a feeling as soon as Moana 2 comes out, attendance for that thing is going to drop.
I think you're right.
Fast.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to have a guest appearance for when we do Moana 2 with Maria, our assistant.
Yes,
here.
she's. We need perspective because neither of us have joy in our hearts anymore, and so we need Maria.
Speak for yourself.
I kid, of course. Thanks for joining us this episode again. Seriously, we've heard some very nice things from people who've listened, and we just want to say, mostly staff here.
Oh, okay. But I thought somebody put something on Facebook finally.
No one has yelled at us on Facebook or Instagram yet, but you can at Grand Review Pod, and we would love to hear your thoughts. If you have thoughts about movies that we've already reviewed, we'd love to kind of let people know. Like, we want perspective because we are two people who try to be very honest about our biases and the things that we're focusing on in the movie. Obviously, the last couple of weeks I've been focusing on not the movie, but instead the stories. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We appreciate you very, very much. And as we say here at the end of every episode, we'll see you at the movies.